Hello and welcome back to Riding the Pine. This is our review of Game 5 of the 2020-21 Chicago Blackhawks season. Tonight, the Blackhawks picked up their first win of the season with a 4-1 victory over the Detroit Red Wings. But before we get to the review, please do me a really big favor and hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you have not done so already. And none of you have done so already because I've been looking at our analytics, and 83% of you are not subscribing. So please do us that favor and subscribe. It helps us out a lot. It helps promote the channel. Also, please comment, leave any kind of feedback you have for us or any kind of comments you have from the game. We do or will interact with you down below in the comments. So please feel free to comment as well. And as usual, I'm joined again tonight by Shy Sports Fan Joe, Chicago Sports Fan Joe. Joe, how are you doing tonight?
Hey, it is Victory Saturday. Boy, that feels good. It feels good to be talking about a victory. So I'm feeling good, Kyle. Feeling good. Let's hope we can keep this going.
Yes, let's do. I would preface that I didn't want to rain on anyone's parade last night, but I didn't want to, again, rain on anybody's parade because this is Detroit. These are probably two of the worst teams in the league. Um, so keep that in mind and keep kind of the expectations kind of where they are.
Right.
Um,
But I'm just happy we won a
yes,
game.
yes, I agree.
I'm just happy to celebrate a win for once.
And there were
Rather
definitely
Detroit or somebody
positives
else, but
last night to go over. Let's start with what everybody I think is talking about, and that is that Kevin Lankinen stopped 30 of 31 shots for a 968 save percentage, picking up his first career NHL victory, and against obviously the hated Detroit Red Wings. Definitely a special night for him. And I think, as everyone, as I've been saying for over a year now, is finally starting to realize that the guy is Kevin Lankinen. And so, what were your thoughts about his performance last night? I know I was a little surprised that they actually gave him the start again because Subban has just not played in over a week now. So, but definitely a pleasant sight last night.
yeah, no, I thought Lankinen played really well, and he made some big stops too. And I really like the way he's been playing in the net so far in his, two. What is it? Has he played 2 or 3 games so far?
2 games.
2 games, yeah. So I really
And
liked his. I really liked his play, and I wonder. I would think Colleton at this point will roll with him. I don't know if he'll play Sunday, but or tomorrow, I should say. But I would roll with him. He's. It seems like the team's got a little jolt now and ahead of him, and let's see what happens. After the game. I'd give him one more game in the net and see what he could do. I mean, I feel like he's rolling right now.
yeah, I think you have to roll with him right now. The Subban experiment needs to end. It's not doing Subban any favors, and it's not doing the Blackhawks any favors because I don't think uh, you want to send Delia down, and obviously you can't send Lankinen down right now. And by the way, he is undefeated in regulation. He has all three of the points for Chicago so far. So yeah, I don't think there's any way you don't play him on Sunday. Um,
That's what I was going to say. Do we roll with? Do you think the Hawks roll with 3 goaltenders, or is this just until Rockford starts up, or until the trade deadline? Do you try to trade one of them? Not to say it's Lankinen, but maybe between either Delia or Subban.
well, I don't think they can send him to Rockford because they need a goalie. They need three goalies, whether they're on the active roster or on the taxi squad.
Okay, I didn't know what the deal was this year with teams carrying 3 goaltenders.
Right. Well, and I don't, like I said, I don't think you can I don't think the AHL counts toward. Well, obviously, it shouldn't count towards that. So, if they, what they need to, look, I don't know what they're gonna do, but th- whether they just, I mean, because I think he signed a 2-year contract in the offseason. So,
Yeah, Subban did. You're right.
yeah, so I like, they obviously, he, I wouldn't think would want to terminate his contract, but, I, if he's, because he's got to clear waivers if they send him down. Um, and maybe they just keep him on the roster because, they've been kind of doing that now and they can play with the taxi squad and that kind of thing that leaves them that room. Um, but I don't think he shouldn't be getting starts
No,
anymore
right.
unless somebody gets injured or something because look, the guy's like 27 years old. He's been in the we've discussed this. He's been around a while now. He's not a part of your future. You need to see what Delia and Lankinen can do. Obviously, I think as I've been screaming into the heavens for the last year, like I said, people have kind of realized Lankinen seems to be the guy. Um, and you need to get him. And that's the other thing. Uh, I don't know if you watched the post game, but the interview with Lankinen at both tonight and the previous game on Tuesday, he uh, he just oozes confidence.
Yeah, no, I
Like,
really like his demeanor, his attitude, and he said, this was a game he really wanted to win. It's the Red Wings, it's a rivalry. It's the excuse me, it's the first home game of the year. So, and he performed. He lived up to, what his expectations, and I think he exceeded them last night. So, I do really like Lankinen, and I really hope he can succeed as, our future starting goaltender.
yeah, and the other thing too, as I say that he oozes it, that's I guess the perception that he gives. Now, honestly, as a former goalie myself, that's they have to, especially younger goalies, you want them to gain confidence. And he did even say, I don't remember who asked the question, but they asked if, he was more confident tonight after getting a game in. And he said yes. And there's something to that. And I think, especially with him, I mean, he's even more experienced than Delia right now. So, or less experienced, excuse me. So, I think getting him consistent ice time and getting him into a rhythm, which is the thing with goalies, will help him. I mean, this isn't Corey Crawford, who is a veteran that can shake off a bad game. Like, you want to get him playing well and then playing consistently. And at this point, like I said, he's 1-0-1 in his first 2 games. So ride him and let him run with the ball, even if he loses. As long as he's not playing terrible, keep rolling him out there. So yeah, I definitely thought he was the bright spot. Obviously, as he is the our headline for this game is that he picked up his first win. So congratulations to him. We had another first tonight for this young team. Ian Mitchell picked up his first point in the NHL with an assist on the Calvin De Haan goal. So that was again nice to see for him. Congrats are in order for him. Um, I think he's played very well, obviously, to start the season. He did play the fewest amount of all of the defensemen last night. Um, I am curious. Do you think he's the guy they will take out of the lineup to get one of the other defensemen to play? Because we've talked about Adam Boquist. He wasn't on the score sheet last night, but he did play 18 minutes. So they seem to want to be rolling him out there, no matter how bad he is. Um, and considering the ice time Mitchell's getting, would seem to indicate that maybe he's the guy they'll pull out of the lineup. Do you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I just don't see it. Like again, I know I said it before. I don't see them taking Mitchell out. I mean, I think with Mitchell and Boquist, I think the only thing that's going to help them is they have to see consistent ice time. That's the only way they're going to grow and develop as rookies. So I just think I don't want to see and I know Keith and De Haan and Murphy are the veterans anchoring this defensive core. I'm trying to think of who you'd have to sacrifice to maybe one game to take out, but maybe they'll make a move Sunday. Obviously, playing and you don't want to underestimate any opponent, but we know Detroit and Chicago are unfortunately two of the worst teams in the league. So maybe you just try something out Sunday to kind of see what if that change would help or spark this defensive unit by taking out one of those guys. But I just don't see them taking out Mitchell and Boquist because again you don't want to have any more stunts to their development.
Right. Well, and I think that's why, to me, playing a seventh defenseman really has value right now because until one of the veterans is traded, and I do believe one of them will be traded this year, um, I don't know who or where. I assume it'll be De Haan.
That's what I said. I don't. Because is Murphy still signed pretty for a while?
Murphy and De Haan both have 2 years left, including this season.
Okay.
So, but obviously, I mean, they gave Murphy an A, and they took it away. They gave it to him for what, 1 game, 2 games,
Yeah, I think so. You're right.
and Andrew Shaw was wearing it last night. So, um, I don't know, but they definitely somebody has to get moved. One of the veterans, and the most likely scenario, and Brent Seabrook hasn't even come back yet. So, um, I would say De Haan is probably most likely. He is 29, going to be 30. He's had quite a few injuries, um, and I don't think you trade Duncan Keith. That you just don't at this point.
No. The only thing that would
Depending,
scare me as a team with De Haan is just his injury history. I just don't know. I think there'd be more value to trade Murphy than De Haan, but I don't know if like I said, if teams would ask for a little more simply because of De Haan's injury history. I don't know though.
I don't think you're at this point. I think you're just selling them off. So it's whoever wants them for whatever the highest prices you can get. Because I think for right now, they at least see Murphy as more of a leadership guy, at least internally.
Mm-hmm.
So if they have a choice, I would think they would prefer not to move him. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think you move Keith just because of the leadership qualities. We don't know obviously what's going on with Taves. If Taves does not come back or is unable to come back, I think Duncan Keith's your captain, at least until the next somebody in the next core would take it over.
Right.
I don't think Kane is and that's nothing against Patrick Kane, but I just don't think he's captain material. So I think if the worst comes to pass, I think Keith's your future captain. So I just don't think. And to me, I mean, he's probably my favorite player out of those core three, really. So I think you're not going to move him unless he completely asks to be moved. But
Right. And I think that contract is just
well, his contract's pretty good,
yeah.
honestly.
So, but
But yeah, and you want him to kind of bring the kids along. Kind of moving to the forward ranks. Again, we'll stay on the positive. Kane continues to find the score sheet, which is nice. He now leads the team with Alex Debrincat in points at 5 apiece. Dylan Strome is right behind them with 4. He picked up a couple assists tonight. Debrincat had 2. Kane, obviously, the goal and an assist. So the 3 of them are scoring, which is good because that's essentially where their offense is going to come from. So it's nice to see them continuing to score. The power play again.
Yeah, I mean, let's talk about that power play. I mean, it's on a tear right now, which is, they said it. They've scored the Blackhawks have scored at least one power play goal for the fifth straight game. It's the third longest streak to open a season in franchise history. I believe the second longest they said is 6 games in the 1965-66 season, and the longest is 11 in the 1990-91 season. They tied, I believe, the 93-94 Blackhawks, who also started that season with a 5-game power play goal streak.
Yeah, I'm gonna look this up. I believe they have the second best power play in the league right now. I believe they are 7 for 17.
Yeah, I was going to say it was either they were the best or pretty close to the top in power play, which is it's mind-boggling for a team that's 1-3-1. But hey, I guess however it happens, I'm just glad it's having success.
Yeah, okay, so we're gonna take Dallas out because they've only played one game. Uh, they have Chicago has the second best power play after Toronto, and Toronto has also played an extra game.
Okay.
So uh,
Yeah.
that's that's definitely a good thing. Something
Right.
we have not seen for a long time, as you were just saying.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
um, again, that's something nice to see. Andrew Shaw got rewarded, obviously, with the power play goal, or one of the two they scored. So he's had a quiet. I mean, he's had a really good quiet season. I think. I mean, maybe because I don't know why. I don't know if it's because he's not really getting talked about. So I don't know if it's because we're just talking about everything else going on, whether it's the rookies or the defense, which is just a conundrum to me.
Yeah.
Um, or if it's, that he's just the team's not good, so he's not standing out as much what he does, but he's not taking the stupid penalties. He's playing hard. He's again scored a goal last night on the power play. So, and he's playing limited minutes, and they gave him the A on the sweater. So he must be doing something in the locker room too. I would venture a guess to earn that status. So as someone who has been a serious critic of his for the contract that he has, I'm pretty happy with him this year. I think he's really come to play, and maybe that taking the year off really helped him.
And then I liked what was the other one? They said I know we were talking about that Kubalik Kurashev Strome. They were on the ice and I think in the first period for 8 shot attempts and one was against, and they had 6 scoring chances for and 0 against. So that's pretty good, obviously. I mean, unfortunately, the only thing they didn't do was put the puck in the back of the net. But I do like that line. Do you like that line of Kubalik, Kurashev, and Strome? You think
Yeah, I
that's
like that line. I think um, Kurashev gives it that nice young energy on the line. Dylan Strome to me has been the team MVP this year. I think.
yeah? Which they said speaking of Strome, he was on the ice for I believe, 3 of the Hawks' goals and recorded the primary assist on the first 2. He's got 4 points in 5 games, a goal and 3 assists. That's a strong start.
Yeah, he was not. So I had messaged or text Josh uh, earlier in the day, and I told him because I had looked it up. So before the game, Strom was seventh in the league for those centers who would take a minimum of 60 draws in terms of face-off win percentage. And obviously, he was at 61.3% at that time. He was not good at the dot against Detroit, finishing at 20% for the game. But those games are going to happen. as long as he bounces back. And I talked to Josh and then Sherrod out in Toronto, who has occasionally jumped on here as well.
Mhm.
Um, if Strome continues, I mean, we all kind of, at least some of us, that don't focus on the fact that all the negatives that he's a little bit slow of foot, that as the third overall pick he can score, and that one of the reasons he wasn't very good last year, wasn't up to the stuff that the first year that we acquired him, he was injured. So, like you just said, he's got 4 points in 5 games so far. That's essentially a point a game pace. That's what he did the first season that we acquired him. Uh, and now with the development of him at the faceoff circle, if he maintains that and stays in the top 10 at the faceoff circle, boy, oh boy, is he going to
Right.
become one
That's
of
what I
the.
said. We would have, I mean, you obviously once Doc comes back, and then you pray and hope that Taves is able to come back, to have those three, being anchoring your centerman. That's pretty good centerman to have on your team.
Yeah, and what's crazy is like I said, I believe the top 3 picks in the 22 drafts are all centers, like
Right.
generational centers. So if you add one of those guys to this mix too, just wow.
Yeah, to be able to have four rolling centers, yeah, that would be huge.
Yes. So that is like I think I mean, it's nice that the Brinket's finding the back of the net and racking up points. Um, but I think Strom has eclipsed him, at least for the time being. Obviously, we wanted to see improvement for both this year, which we are. But I think Strom's just at the dot is really uh, shedding light on him. And then just the little small things, like we were talking about that line in terms of becoming a two-way centerman and being able, like Taves. And remember when Taves first started, he was horrible at faceoffs,
Yeah, you're right. He was.
horrible. And then you look at like 2013 when he was just ridiculous at faceoffs, and then at the two-way game in his own end. That is the progression that you want to see out of your centers. Obviously, um, that's probably the big thing we want to see with Doc as well. Now that he's gained that upper body strength and getting stronger when he returns. Was also, I believe, his birthday Thursday, was it?
Yeah.
And he was
Hmm.
around the team. So that was nice to see that he was around. Maybe he'll be able to get back sooner than expected. That would be fantastic. Um, so yeah, the only really player I think, or the bad thing that was really out of this game. I mean, you mentioned the Mitchell kind of defensive breakdown on the Red Wings only goal, but Kubalik had a massively bad turnover. Um,
Yeah, that I was gonna say that was his one, blemish too. I was like, oh my god, when he did that, I was like, what possesses you to throw the puck to the
in
middle
the
of the
middle
ice,
of the
your
ice,
own
yeah.
zone? So
Yeah. And I got to tell you, though, that's one of the things where you see that from Lankinen. To me, if that's Delia or Subban, that's probably a goal. Hell, that might have even been a goal with Crawford. So the fact that you saw that out of Lankinen and that he was able to bail your team out when they were making horrifically bad plays, I think just goes again uh, to showing what kind of a goalie he can be as he develops and gets some consistent playing time. So um, that, as bad as the turnover was, it did give us a glimmer of something positive as well.
right, and it was nice too to see Andrew Shaw score. I mean, we all loved Shazi for what he did in 2013, and but it was his first goal since I think November of 2019. It's good to see him back and feeling like himself again. And I hope he can contribute a little bit more, especially, in the opposition zone, being that net front presence we kind of need, and that nuisance that he was to all these teams, in the past. So I'm hoping he keeps that up too.
Like I said earlier, a little bit ago, that with him getting the A uh, from Murphy, at least for this game, um, I've been really hard on Shaw. I mean, I just for him to be making $4 million and to miss the whole season last year after we reacquired him, and then well, not the whole season, but basically the whole season.
Yeah, it was pretty much like, I think it was the second half of the season last year. He was out.
Yeah, I think he played about 20 games, but if he can continue, like I've been a big proponent of moving him if you could, just to free up that $4 million. Uh, but if he can, he's got, I believe, 2 years left, uh, along with Murphy and De Haan. So if he can continue to play as he is and take up the leadership roles, I wouldn't mind keeping him on this team, albeit at a lower salary. I mean, I think $4 million is too much for Andrew Shaw. It
No,
just
I
is.
agree.
I
But
think if you can get him like at 2 million, I think that's a good deal to keep him around the team. And obviously, with being a legacy player, right from the championship teams, he'd be great to bring the kids along. You want those guys in the locker room for culture and stuff like that. So, yes, I 100% agree. I think Andrew Shaw has quietly had a fantastic start to this season. Um, I don't. Yeah, again, I'm not really sure what we're getting at Hagel, and if we're not going to play Highmore, I really want to see Kalnick play, and if it's even Bodan, like I want to see these other defensemen.
right.
So
I think it's just a matter of time. I think they will get in the lineup, but it's just a matter of when. And I think if you continue to see, if there's going to be, defensive breakdowns and defensive struggles, which we've seen in the first, few games here, that there's going to be. And I think if they start getting into a lull where they're struggling to get out of, then I think you're going to see changes happen, and you'll see those two get into the lineup.
my I do think Sidorov has also quietly really kind of proved his value. We can argue, and we have obviously, or at least talked about whether he's being used effectively. But he played 17 minutes in the game. He had 6 hits, 5 block shots, and he took 1 penalty. I would like to maybe see him drop the gloves here coming up soon. I think that's
Yeah,
something.
that's what this season. Have you know? I mean, there haven't been. I don't feel like as many fights as there maybe normally would be. But is that just because of the way things are with the COVID, and maybe they're telling players like, hey, just don't drop the gloves unless you like absolutely feel it's necessary. I don't know, but
Yeah, I think that's something. And that, the NHL, I think, has been trying to breed that out of the game, and I think that's a really big mistake. That's something that one of the unique things about hockey is the fighting, and then it does like keep worse things from happening because it's kind of an accountability thing when you're out there playing. Um, it's one of the reasons why we don't have more Wilsons and Reeves and Marshaws, and with all the shenanigans that you can hold those guys accountable. Uh, if they start doing any kind of stupid shit. So yeah, I don't know. I just hope that that's not something that eventually really is kind of weeded.
wow. And then I just saw. I don't know if you just saw Darren Drager's tweet. Just sorry to break into this, but
Pierre-Luc Dubois has been traded to Winnipeg, and for it looks like Laine and Roslovic are going back to Columbus, and as well as a third-round pick will be going back to the Blue Jackets are also sending a third-round pick to Winnipeg as part of this blockbuster deal.
Winnipeg's getting raped in that trade. I don't know. I I like I spent a good portion of yesterday reading trade proposals for Dubois, and I understand Dubois is 23, but I think that's about the same age that Line is. But I you're giving up, a 40 goal scorer in Line plus arguably a top four defenseman and a draft pick for Dubois. Dubois has hit 50 points once in 3 seasons. And this season, I think he has 1 point in 5 games. That's after getting benched for basically a whole game by Torts. I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know what they're doing in Winnipeg, but that's.
I mean, do they feel like Pierre-Luc Dubois is going to put him over the top? I don't know.
Well, they've been wanting, they've been trying to get a center to go with Scheifele forever. And I believe they just reacquire Stastny again from Vegas.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I don't know. Like, I don't know if they think Dubois is the answer to that or what, but that's just a weird. I don't know. That to me, Columbus is winning that trade outright. Like that's like the Panarin trade to me. It's not as bad as Panarin, I guess, but like even if you said Line for Dubois straight up, I mean that's maybe a wash. But then when you start throwing in draft picks and then you throw in Roslovic, like I don't know. They must really like Dubois, but I don't. I don't know. I mean, I guess I haven't been paying much attention to Line this year. Is he struggled? Let me see here. Well, he's only played in one game and he's got 3 points. So I don't know what's going on there. But yeah, just listen to this. Line 64 points, 70 points, 50, 63, and then 3 in one game this year. Dubois.
Yeah, and then they said Roslovic signed a new deal. So he's just signed a 2-year deal then with it looks like Columbus.
That's a horrible trade for Winnipeg. Like I don't know what they're doing. But
right. So I know I saw a Blue Jackets fan just said, I don't want to be dramatic or anything, but Columbus just won that trade by a lot.
Yeah, a lot. Like I don't. Let me see.
I mean, do you think Laine will click with Tortorella? I think that's what a lot of people are questioning.
I don't know. So it looks like Line is on injured reserve. So is he? I mean, it just says upper body injury. So I don't know how long he's going to be out. But like I said, he's got 3 points in one game. Yeah, I don't know. You're trading a guy that's, let's see, 64, 70, 50, 63. So when do you want to say that averages out to 65 points a season for a guy that's passed 50 points a season once?
Yeah.
And then you're throwing in a top four defenseman too, arguably. I don't know. That sounds like a Stan Bowman trade. If that what Columbus likes
Laine and Roslovic for Dubois and a third-round pick. Yeah, I don't know. That seems really one-sided, but I don't know.
Columbus is really good at fleecing other GMs, apparently.
Yeah, I mean, I give credit to Jarmo Kekalainen or whatever his name is, who's the
You
GM
know
there.
what though? But I good for them because I I never had much of a thought with Columbus, honestly. But I think Torts. I went on kind of a rant through like various tweets yesterday about Tortorella, about how much I would love Tortorella with Chicago right now.
Oh, same.
Because and I know a lot of people don't like his personality, but he's I think he's the all-time winningest coach in for Americans anyway. And that fiery passion that he has and that he forces players to play the right way, I think that would do wonders for a team like Chicago that's, to bring in a lot of young players along. And obviously he's got a Stanley Cup ring from Tampa. So, but I think that chip on his shoulder attitude that he has, they've kind of developed that down in Columbus. Like everybody, it's Columbus. Nobody wants to go to Columbus. Panarin leaves, Bobrovsky leaves, Dubois wants out.
But I think it's on no fault of Columbus. But again, you get into these small markets, and with these big time players, you don't have the money to give them what they're asking for. I kind of feel like, I mean, not to say it's all small market teams can't do it, but
I think their owner is one of the richest in the league.
oh, Columbus's is okay.
Yeah, I think
Well,
so.
I
But
mean, I don't know if like you said, in a small market, you have to kind of make sure you know, divvy up your assets equally. I mean, you don't want to kind of put all your eggs in one basket, because obviously then you don't have room to do much else. So, I mean,
is this
obviously
their
with
20th season or was that last year? I'm trying to
Columbus,
remember if they came in 2000 or 2001.
I think it was 2000. I think them
And
and the
Atlanta.
Minnesota Wild came in at the same time.
Was Atlanta 99?
Mm, I think so, yeah.
There's another market that the NHL should go back to. I don't know why they haven't been able to make the Atlanta market work. But they're losing it.
I just think I think it's so saturated with with the college football and the NFL and the NBA that it's just maybe just they just don't have the hockey. Maybe they do. I don't know, but
Well, you got
obviously,
to look at like Nashville. So Nashville has that entire market to themselves, other than the Titans, and you know they were about ready to be relocated. I don't know, several years ago, and then they drafted really well, obviously, and they had their little run that I think they're starting to come to the end of. But that's a huge, huge hockey market now, and they've built that culture up with the, Hawks fans. I know don't like them, but like, and the goalie chants and everything. Look, as a former goalie, I love that shit. That makes when you go on the road, that's what makes it fun. When the fans are jawing at you. Same thing with the Cubs, right? With the outfielders and
right.
people out in
And
the
I feel like it's like it could be as a goalie you feed into it, and if you perform well, then it's like, all right, now I got the power. I could shut these people up. But when you struggle, I feel like it just makes your night that much worse.
I mean, it can, but as long as you've got confidence in yourself, it shouldn't. But I guess my point to that is, I guess, kind of summing that up is, they had a winning team finally, and then they had owners that took an interest in building the team correctly and marketing it correctly and everything. I mean, look at Tampa Bay. I mean, that's not a hockey market, and they're doing gangbusters down there. There's no reason the Florida Panthers down in Miami couldn't turn that around either. They've just been so awfully run over the last 20, 30, 25, 30 years since they came into the league. So I would argue that's what's wrong in Atlanta. I mean, they've never really. I mean, how many times did the Thrashers make the playoffs? Twice?
Yeah, I think it was either once or twice. Yeah.
10 years, and Kovalchuk was their best player, and they just never really turned it into anything. And that's such a huge television market down there that the NHL is hemorrhaging money. I mean, in theory, because they're not in there. Same thing with Houston, which is coming. And obviously, we're getting a little off topic here, but I think it's important to talk about this stuff because the NHL should be outdoing at least the NBA financially. And it came close until they got their new TV deal. And now, obviously, COVID's hit and everything. But the league as a whole should be able to expand by another 8 to 10 teams.
Right. I would say, yeah, Houston's probably deserving of a team. I think.
Well, that's just an inevitability. They've
Yeah.
said they want a team. The Rockets owner has, and they are by 2030, 2035, they're going to overtake Chicago to become the third biggest television market in the U.S.
Yeah.
And that's due in large part to both immigration and a lot of people moving to Texas because it's so the cost of living is just so much better down there with not having state income
I
taxes.
was gonna say there's no income tax down there, and yeah, but do you think Quebec City gets another chance at a team?
Yes, but I don't think I think they're not, they're a little bit farther off.
Okay.
I think Houston's going to be the next team for sure, probably.
Or do you even think of it? Does Hartford try to get a team again?
They've talked about it. I don't know. The thing with Hartford is that the NHL is so concentrated on the East Coast with 3 teams in New York, you got 2 in Pennsylvania, you got New Jersey, which I think they're the only team in New Jersey now, or the only league in New Jersey now.
Yeah.
Then all the Canadian teams, so you got Toronto, and then if you add Quebec, which I think will happen, that's out east, you got Montreal.
Yeah, I just wonder if adding Hartford would do kind of like what happened when the Jets came back to Winnipeg. It was like the town went absolutely berserk, and now the Jets are selling out like every game. I mean, I think it's just, I mean, obviously, I think eventually it wears off, but up in Canada, it's obviously a lot different because hockey's their go-to versus everything else. But you wonder if it would do wonders to bring back the Hartford Whalers because everybody and I see on social media too, everybody goes crazy when the Hurricanes bring back those the Whalers reverse retro jerseys, and everybody's wants to get a Whalers hat, and so I feel like if the Whalers did come back, I think it would be huge for the league too.
Yeah, I think that's definitely a possibility. I think um, Oklahoma City's possible, Kansas City's possible, Portland, especially now with Seattle coming into the league. I think even Salt Lake City eventually could be, because you got the Jazz there, so you've already got an arena there.
Right.
So that's potential. There's just, and like we've seen, like all this European talent that's coming over, and it's not just the European talent. There's so much talent, like of guys that have been in the NHL that end up moving over to the KHL or to Europe because there's just not enough jobs over here now because there's so much young talent now in the league between the draft and the players are playing younger and younger, as obviously we've talked about from Bowman, and that's what the Hawks are doing. So there's no reason you couldn't have a 40 team NHL with 2 20 team conferences. And I think we're going to be there eventually. You and I might be on our deathbeds by the time that happens, but I think that's definitely where it's moving. Obviously, I don't see much happening for the next few years because of COVID. The economy's got to come back.
Right.
But yeah, I definitely think.
Yeah, as long as you want to see the game grow, and obviously the more cities you get into, the more the game can grow. So,
Well, look at Matthews from Phoenix.
right.
Look at who somebody I don't know if they're on the Hawks or Well, Connor Murphy, right? Because I think didn't he grow up in Florida?
No, I think I thought, where was Connor Murphy? I think they said was from Dublin, Ohio.
Well, yeah. So his dad played with the Blue Jackets when they first started, and then I think he played for the Panthers as well. So he'd been in, both of those places. But like the point being is,
I just feel like as a hockey player, I mean, and I know, obviously the goal is competing and for cups and wanting to win a cup. And if you can get the Florida Panthers to be that kind of a team, I mean, who wouldn't want to live in South Florida and play half of your games in South Florida? Not that, you're playing outdoors, doesn't really matter, but
well, yeah. I mean, look,
you know,
you've already got that in Tampa Bay. I mean,
right.
there are like Stamkos and all of those guys down there are taking lower salaries on the salary cap. That it's such an advantage because again, Florida has no state income tax.
Right.
So, Patrick Kane and Jonathan Taves that are making they had $10.5 million deals. If they had
Right.
$10.5 million deals down in Tampa Bay or down in Texas with Dallas, they would be saving probably $1 million to $2 million a year on their taxes on those contracts just because they live in Illinois, not to mention living in Chicago. So, I mean, but that doesn't necessarily mean anything either. I mean, Panarin, who has a place in South Beach, still went to New York. So
Yeah, true.
some
But
some players like the big metro cities, and but that is what it is. So
but
um, maybe
yeah,
we'll do a show sometime talking about where we'd like to see expansion and doing stuff because I love talking about that stuff. I think that's so interesting, and then just looking at the business side of the game. But
right.
getting back to the item at hand here, do you have any kind of final thoughts on the game before we get into the preview for Sunday?
No, yeah, I think, like I said, if we can keep the power play rolling, we can, and another positive was the penalty kill, going 5 for 5 last night, which was really refreshing to see. If we can keep that going and just, like I said, roll behind Lankinen and see where this thing goes. Let's just try to keep, and the key was to scoring the first goal and building up that 2-0 lead. I think really helped the boys too, getting that confidence to keep playing with a lead. So I think that's what we got to build on.
Yeah, agreed. And then just to continue building this as we go into Sunday's game at 11:30. So for those of you who are listening, make sure you are up and at 'em Sunday morning. I know everybody likes to sleep in, and some of us, well, I guess at least if you're in Chicago, you're not allowed to go to church. But um, for those of us that don't go to church or whatever that like to sleep in, just a reminder: the game is at 11:30 at the United Center. So, is there anything other than I assume, as we've kind of discussed, Lincoln and getting the next start that you want to see? Do you want to see the same lineup? Um,
Yeah, I think what right now, it's working. I mean, it worked in the last game, so I would think Colleton will roll with it again until if God forbid he feels the wheels fell off or something bad happens. But I think you roll with it again. It worked in the last game. Let's see how it, if it rolls in back to back contests. So I'd roll with it again.
Yeah, I kind of agree. The only thing that, like I said, that I could potentially see them doing would be to take out a Hagel and play a seventh defenseman. Just to minor note, Detroit did do that in the game tonight against the Hawks. So, I don't know if that affected their offensive output or not. So we'll see if that changes anything if they go back to six defensemen. So, anyway, with that, that'll wrap this up for the game tonight, where the Hawks pick up their first victory of the season. Kevin Lankinen gets his first victory in the NHL. Ian Mitchell picked up his first point in the NHL with an assist on Calvin De Haan's second period goal. So, with that, everybody, again, stay safe, stay healthy. be nice to each other. I know a lot of people, a lot of things, as I say, are always volatile, especially on Twitter. You know what? Actually, I'll just say this: stay off social media for a while.
Right.
I think that I know I got rid of my Facebook, and I think I don't really use Instagram. I'm just mainly on Twitter, and I think that we've gotten so accustomed to going at everybody on social media. I do think it's therapeutic to kind of take a break. And if you do get on social media, just focus like on the Hawks or the Bulls or sports or whatever you want to focus on. Just try to ignore all the political stuff that's going on. So, uh, with that, we'll talk to you Sunday night. I think because the game is so early, we will probably upload our review for that game Sunday night rather than Monday morning. And again, until next time, we'll talk soon. Stay safe and go Hawks.
All right. Go Hawks, everybody. Thanks again.